Thank you so much for your patience. Kenise, why are you laughing?
Because I love you. If I
Thank you.
didn't love
Thank
you,
you
that
very
would be
much.
a whole different
I do
story.
apologize for the technical glitch, but this just means we're going to have a very, very wonderful show tonight. Kenise, you're live.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. But is your dad watching the show?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's start over because you had some very interesting things to say in the beginning. Um, I started off by saying you were born and raised in Guyana.
That's right.
Both parents are pastors.
Correct.
Came to the United States to pursue her education at the age of 10. Um, Studied and majored in business management, psychology at Stony Brook University, and obtained her MBA from NYU. Now working as the director of human resources for a nonprofit organization in NYC called the Doe Fund that helped to rebuild the lives of homeless and previously incarcerated men. And I started by asking, how old is your daughter?
She's 3.
She's 3. And what are some of the things you enjoy being a mother?
Everything.
Uh-huh.
Every possible thing. Love it.
And your father is a well-known pastor in the Guyanese community.
Yes, he is.
What do you enjoy most about being a PK?
Getting away with things.
Kenise, you have the courage and nerve to say that live, and your parents are watching.
Of course.
Okay.
Parents are
cool.
watching. People from my church are watching.
Tell us some of the things you've gotten away with, if you
Well,
don't
that's
mind.
young. When I was much younger.
Oh, okay.
You know, you could get away with, if we went out somewhere, people wouldn't necessarily yell at me for, doing something that I wasn't supposed to because they're like, oh, that's Pastor Lionel's daughter. It's okay. Let her do it. Because people were scared of my dad, they would leave me alone. But as I grew up, it just became more and more intense and challenging and stressful. Like I said before, it's like living in a glass house.
Okay.
Everybody watches what you're doing. They want to see who's your boyfriend. They want to see if she's going to mess up, if she's not going to mess up. And when she messes up, everyone talks about it. When you don't mess up, they think you're Miss Perfect. You just never win.
Wow. And what is it like growing up as a PK?
It's stressful.
It's stressful.
It's challenging. Seeing your parents go through really great times and go through very low times. It's very difficult.
Uh-huh. And what is being when is it not being when is being a PK not an asset?
I think there isn't a time. I think for me it's an asset all the way around. I think for me the blessings from my parents that they will never receive will trickle down to myself and to my daughter.
Wonderful, wonderful. What do you think surprises you most? Surprises people most about you?
That I'm a nice person. Like I said before the volume was on, that people tend to think, Kenise is like standoffish. She's more cliquish. She has her own set of friends. And when people get to know me, they're like, oh, you're genuine. You're a really sweet person.
Is that so?
Yeah, that is right.
Okay. And nobody.
You don't believe me.
No,
Why
I
don't
didn't
you
say
believe
that.
me? That sounds very believable.
I didn't say that. You were actively involved in your church in Queens, New York, as the Minister of Music and Youth Leader. Founded a youth organization, Generation Extreme,
Right.
that helps underprivileged immigrant youths in their education career decisions. Tell us about your involvement with Generation Extreme.
Yeah, we initially started Generation Extreme to help youths that come over from Guyana, Trinidad, basically the Caribbean, live in Queens and the Bronx, in parts of Brooklyn, in getting them out of high school, getting them to graduate high school, getting them into internships, and getting them into college, because they're the first time around students that are going to school. Their parents didn't go to school here, so they need help with the application process. They need help with internships. They need help with kind of the know-how of the college process after high school, what happens, what doesn't happen, things that they should be taking advantage of that they necessarily don't know if someone doesn't tell them.
Do you remember the first time you met an underprivileged immigrant youth and what it was like for you?
The first time was kind of hard because that was probably years ago. I'm always meeting underprivileged young people that come from homes that I wish I could adopt them and get them as my children.
Right.
Because I think they deserve so much more, and they don't get it. They don't get the exposure. They don't get to travel. They don't get the attention from their parents that they need. So they just wander off, and it breaks my heart. So I've met a lot of them, and I think one of my reactions to one that was very intense was just, he went out, got a girl pregnant. I mean, he just
Just pause for a second. I happen to notice a chatter in the chat room about getting on the show. If you're using an iPad, you're not going to see the show because it requires flash. So if you have access to a computer, I suggest you log on through your computer. Or if you have a smartphone that is not an iPhone, you should log on and you'll be able to see the show. But if you have an iPhone or an iPad, because you require flash, you're not going to be able to see it. You might hear us, but you won't be able to see. So, sorry, Kenise.
You broke my train of thought.
Well, I know you're very adept at communication, so this shouldn't be a problem for you.
Yeah. What was I saying?
You were saying about when you met the...
Oh, yes, and he went out and he got a girl pregnant. They just tend to wander off. And the whole basis of it was just that he didn't feel that his parents cared for him. They came to the States. All they do is work all day, which they did because they wanted to give him a better life. But there's that balance to it. So we kind of try to help the parents, help the youth, kind of come together to work towards like an end result and a goal in making that youth's life successful.
What is the most memorable experience working with young people?
Oh my gosh, every year it's like the most memorable experience. We usually have like our annual youth retreat where we take them away. And that's very memorable because you get to see their lives literally change. They come home and you get text messages or you get phone calls from them and they're like, Sister Kenise, I'm doing this, something that I didn't do before. I stopped drinking, I stopped hanging out with that friend, I stopped hanging out with those people, all because like you took an interest in who I am. And now most of them are kind of like grown up and they're off in college and they're doing well and they still come back and ask me questions and call me their mentor and I'm there for them.
That must give you some great satisfaction.
Of course.
I want to ask you, what do you think about mentorship? But it would be almost like, silly to ask you that because that's what you do.
I'm a huge believer in mentorship. Yeah, huge.
And what can you tell someone who is thinking about mentoring a young person, a child perhaps, a young person? What kind of encouragement can you give a possible or a future mentor?
Yeah, you don't need a college degree to be a mentor. You just need to be able to care for that person, care enough that you want to see them through. And you don't have to be a single person to mentor. You don't have to be a parent to mentor. You can be anybody, and you could be able to take somebody and mentor them. And mentoring is kind of my advice is staying on top of them, encouraging them, being loving, being caring to them, helping them through answering their questions, being there for them, and just being a friend and not judge them.
Let's talk about the patience part. Here's a young person. They have all kinds of things going against them, some for them, hormones, feeling nobody cares, and all these different emotions. Have you ever... I mean, I know you're very even keel and very patient and so on. But have you ever had a mentee that you're really frustrated and you had to step back and really get in touch with yourself and then continue? And I'm only asking these questions because people have asked me about mentoring and have said that there are times when they really want to give up, but they can't.
Right.
And so here's an opportunity for you to sort of share some of that experience with someone who might be struggling. But how should they continue?
Right. I'm not very patient. So I'm even keel.
Right.
But I think there's some people that are watching right now that would say I'm not even keel. I'm not very patient. And I think with my mentoring methodology. It's more of I tell the mentoree that I'm not being patient. Like I've given you one chance and two chances, and that's it for me. So they'll hear my frustration. They'll probably see me walk out or hang up on the conversation, but they know my heart is there, and I'll pick up the phone the next day or call or meet them the next day because I don't want to lose them.
Right.
But they need to know that I'm frustrated with them, and that's sometimes it's kind of like reverse psychology.
So it's tactic then.
It's tactic.
And how much is candidness important in what you do?
It's very important. If you're not candid and honest and open with your mentoree, it's why are you doing it?
Right. What is your most memorable experience dealing with the homeless or previously incarcerated?
Working for the Doe Fund, I've never seen the Doe Fund before. I didn't even know they existed before. And when I started working there, we operate about 5 different homeless shelters across New York City. So we help about 1,200 men a year. And our founder believes that if you work with the male figure, that it trickles down because it's a domino effect. Because the male is the father, is the husband, it's kind of like the head of the home. If we can get them back, help them to where they need to be, then they'll become a better father and husband figure for their family. So working at the Doe Fund has totally changed my perspective on just how well I had it growing up and not to take anything for granted. Because seeing a gentleman who has been incarcerated for over 30 years for manslaughter, coming out of prison and can't find, and there's a success story that we have. He came out 35 years in prison, never met his children because the children's mother took the kids away, didn't know where they lived, and through Facebook and through the Doe Fund, came through our program. We helped him find housing. We helped him get on a career path. He's doing his associate's degree right now. And through Facebook and through his case manager, we were able to help him find his twin daughters, which are currently in their 20s. He came up to New York and reunited with him last year. And it was just an unbelievable success story that I was part of making that happen.
Wow. Why youth organizing?
Why?
Yes. Why do you do that? Why?
I think at the end of the day, because I worked for for-profits before, and it's all about the dollar. With nonprofits, especially the nonprofit that I work for, it's all about changing lives. And I do it in my secular life,
right,
and I do it in my spiritual life. So church-wise and working with the youths, I mean, it's all based on biblical, you want to help change people's lives because you're following Jesus, you're following his kind of guide. In the secular world, I'm using the same type of guide to work with the guys that we have in our program and helping to change their lives, but in a different way.
I want to shift to the chat room for a second.
Sure.
I know there was a lot of chatter in the beginning about the song, so I will kind of like skip some of those. DM said, "Great job, Kenzie." I guess that's you. And,
DM? That's my sister.
Oh, well, the Doc 2009
That's my sister.
said, "Boom."
Boom,
and their other daughter. Okay. M said, well, this is refresh your screen, Kendi, I'm on my iPad. Okay. Jen G here said, "You're awesome."
Thank you, Jen.
Love you, Kenise. M said, "Well said on that, Kenise." And then Jen G here said, "Ragdown, LOL." The Doc 2009, a good mentor would use that weakness to build up themselves and the person they are mentoring. Okay. So, what can you say are some things young people get from organizing? From youth organizing?
They get a lot. They get people who care. And that's kind of like a sad part because they don't find that caring at home most of the times. So they find someone caring outside of their home. And they tend to, in the beginning, resist. But as you go on and you show them that care, they just tend to like come right into your arms. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
You know, it's a good place to take a break. But before we go on the break, I want to leave you with this question. Excuse me. What are some success stories of Generation Extreme? So you get a chance to think about that while we take a break.
Okay, sure.
You know, I'm convinced of one thing. The divorce rate would be much lower. Relationships would last much longer if we would just say these words when that moment is upon us. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Come on, let's talk about it.
We started out some time ago, and I felt so much in love with you every day, every hour. Could not imagine a moment without you. Then somehow we strayed away from the things that brought us together. Now here we are, you're doing you, I'm doing me. All I know is I'm hurting.
I'm sorry.
You stopped talking to me.
Please forgive me, my love.
It doesn't matter what we're going through, we should always find our way.
We are back with the lovely Kenise Etwaru.
That's right.
So, Kenise, the question before the break was, give us some success stories of Generation Extreme.
I have about 2 success stories that I can remember. One of them is a phenomenal success story of a young man who had lost his way, pretty much went into drugs, actually came to one of our youth retreat with drugs, and we found him out and he went crazy, and we decided to drive him home because our policy is that if you find alcohol or drugs or cigarettes during a youth retreat, you get to go back home. And that year, I believe it was 2008, I volunteered to drive him home, and he was very upset because he was like, it wasn't his, and yada yada yada. The entire drive home, he didn't say a word to me. And then we got to the Jersey border because we were in Pennsylvania, and I said, tell me why you need to use drugs. And before I could even finish the sentence, he just started crying. He just started crying. And then he went into kind of like his entire life at home with his parents. Just went into like he was just pressured into it, and he has to put up this front in front of people, and he doesn't want to. End result is that young man is in our church, actively involved in our church. Still has some hurdles. Still has hurdles to overcome. But I'm helping him through it every day. We had one young lady who actually was very promiscuous at one of our retreats, and actually she was close to possibly getting an STD. She thought she had one, and we had a nurse at the youth retreat. Actually, one of the founders who founded the Generation Extreme with me is a nurse, and she kind of, asked her a bunch of questions, and she wanted to get tested, so we took her to the clinic, we got her tested. She wasn't sexually active, but today, I think this was probably in 2007, 2008 also, today she's off in medical school. She's at Johns Hopkins University. She's going to get engaged in October, and she is having a phenomenal life. It's working out for her. She met somebody else in college, and it was just a matter of just sitting there for about 3 days and just spending time with her, eating with her, taking walks to the lake with her, and just hearing her heart and just feeding into it and just encouraging her and telling her that she's beautiful and telling her that she doesn't have to sleep with every other guy out there to feel that she's beautiful. And I mean, she just wanted attention, and so much attention, because she wasn't getting it at home. So those are 2 success stories.
That's incredible. DM said, Kenise, how do you do it all and still manage to have time for your friends?
I think my friends manage me. So I think my friends manage me. I don't know how I do it all, Selwyn. I have no idea. You know how busy my schedule is.
Yes.
I'm crazy busy with work, home, church, working on the CD, trying to work on a book, and then trying to save friends. I think I have only a handful of friends. I can count them on maybe one hand. I don't have many friends, DM. I have one sister who takes up a lot of my time. So
anyway.
With that said, it's very manageable because I don't believe in having like 190 friends.
You know, how, with all these things that you're doing,
Yeah.
and I mean, I should be one to ask, but I'm going to ask you, because you're the guest. How do you, I mean, that requires a tremendous amount of organizational skills and
Yes.
time management. And when you have tons of things going on, it's easy to procrastinate. How do you manage that? Because you get your stuff done.
Yeah, I can't procrastinate. I can't. I'm not a procrastinator. I'm very organized. I keep myself very organized. Calendars, my Keep app, my books, just my ledger. I just keep everything well organized for myself. I don't believe in procrastination. I do believe that I'm young today, but in the next couple of years, I'll be in my mid-40s. And by then, I have goals that I've set up for myself. And I don't want to be in my 50s looking back and saying, oh man, I should have done this when I was like 34. I don't want to do that.
For the young people that are listening to the show tonight, how important is it to be this organized?
It is very important. Having strong organizational skills to help you stay intact, because there's something that you never get back, and that's time. Every day that you sleep in, I mean, sleeping in is fine every day, but every single day that you want to sleep in and don't get up until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, don't pick up that book that you want to read, don't try out something that you've always wanted to try out, every day you'll never get it back. Never, ever get it back.
And as you're saying this, I'm thinking of one strategy I have. And that is to have, if you have a few friends or,
Right.
or just a handful, as you said, make sure that within that group, there are those who will stay on top of you or can hold your feet to the fire, may use that expression. But people who are equally as responsible or even more so.
Right.
And I think that helps. Am I?
Definitely,
Okay.
of course.
So when young people are taught important skills and how to juggle these skills, it gives them enormous responsibilities traditionally held by adults. What sort of positive impact your youth organization has had in this area?
With building skills, it's more, we don't teach them the organizational skills or those practical skills. It's more getting them to obtain a skill set in their head.
Well, not organizational skills per se, but just important skills, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, any set of important skills that may help to increase their responsibility.
I think the most important skill that we help to teach them is professionalism.
Uh-huh.
Is how they carry themselves. Yes, you can walk around with your pants around your ankle when you're at home and on the streets.
Is that so? Oh, okay.
Selwyn, I don't know what you be doing.
Okay. Yes.
But it's not appropriate.
Right.
When you're going into school, when you're going in to meet people for internships, it's not appropriate. So basic, just the way you dressing for success, the way you speak, the lingo. You know, you're not saying SMH, you're not saying LOL in a conversation. You're actually saying the words. You're like, I'm laughing out loud. So basic things like that, teaching them some basic professionalism etiquette.
Okay. In the chat room, DM is Danko. M said, Kenise give great advice, and I myself got advice from her. She's an amazing person and a friend to have. And
Who said that? I'm sorry, who said that?
M.
Oh,
Right.
okay, yes.
And DM said, yes, I agree. DDoc 2009 said, Kenise is pretty awesome. M said, she is. Janine said, yes, I totally agree. Are there things that you have particularly low tolerance for, Kenise?
I have low tolerance for people who don't like things done with, what's the word? excellence.
With excellence.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm an excellence freak. So in my department, I have a department. So I have staff under me, and they know. Like I'm fun. I'm caring. I'm loving. I'm encouraging. They can take whenever they want off. They can come in whatever time they want to come in. I don't scrutinize their time, but they know when I sit down at our staff meeting, they know the agenda is like they need to get their work done. If it's not done, why isn't it done? When is it going to be done? I am same in the church world, working with our youth group, working with Generation Extreme, working in my church, even in the worship team as a music minister. Excellence is my key word.
What does
So
that
that's what I
mean
came
for
from.
those of us who don't know the music minister?
What does it mean?
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, I lead the worship, praise and worship at my church. So
Uh-huh.
kind of like the ministry team for,
Okay.
so the singers, the musicians. That's what I do.
How do you deal with difficult youths?
How do I deal? I'm difficult with them. Difficult youths, they get a difficult Kenise.
Uh-huh.
So they don't get someone easily swayed.
Uh-huh.
They don't get someone who is easily spoken to the way they feel they need to speak to me. And they'll know that. So I meet them at their level. And then I try to bring them up to my level.
Can I ask, what does that look like?
What, the levels?
Yeah.
Well, I meet them wherever they're at.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay.
Why you look surprised,
No,
Selman?
I'm not surprised. I know, I'm not surprised.
I meet them wherever they're at. I
Yes.
think it's important.
Yeah.
Because when they see you coming in because if you come in and you're trying to be better than them, you
Yes.
start judging them and they get turned off. If you meet them at their level and then you slowly kind of build and build and build and you can easily bring them up, take them to the next level.
What do you enjoy most about being around youth?
It helps me stay young.
Okay. Okay. Fair.
That's true.
And what advice can you give to someone just starting out to forming a youth organization?
It's hard. It's challenging. We've run into a lot of different issues, and which is just practical things. It takes a lot of work. Working with young people is very difficult, but I feel the end result is just amazing because you're working with the next generation. And if you're not, and it's kind of, for me, it's leaving a legacy behind. So for someone who wants to start something to help with youth, and even if you don't have to have a nonprofit or .org, you don't have to have like a website or anything. Like you can just work with a youth in your community. You can work with a youth in your church. You can work with a youth at your job. You're helping to leave a legacy behind because that person's going to remember what you've done for them.
I may call on you for some advice because I'm rolling out an initiative on CWS for young people.
You can call me anytime. I'm surprised that you would even want to call me. You don't call me these days.
Can you tell us about how spirituality has influenced your work with young people?
I mean, I think if I wasn't spiritual or religious, I wouldn't care. I don't think so. It's a huge influence on what I do with young people. It's a huge influence on maybe the only influence that I have giving me the zeal to do what I do now.
And what are some of the criteria for a youth to join the youth organization Generation Extreme?
What's the criteria? There isn't a set criteria.
Oh, okay. Okay. So when a youth approaches you, what do you look for?
I look for someone who's interested in becoming better. Because obviously they come to the organization and they come because they want to gain something from us. Most of them want to gain information about colleges. Most of them want to gain information, how can I get my GED, because they're a high school dropout. Most of them want to come and ask questions about I need to get away for the summer. Those I kind of stay away from because, we go on a retreat and they just want to go away and go to Pennsylvania and think it's all like a hangout time. Those, maybe borderline.
Your dad being a pastor, your mom, how do they feel about this organization and your involvement?
I think my parents are very, very proud of what I've done and this organization and the plans that we have for it and the other plans that I have in the back of my head that's going to come out in the next couple of years. So I think they're very, very proud.
And your sister, the lovely Deline?
I'm sorry.
My sister. I did say the lovely Deline.
You sure did.
Right. How does she feel about all of this?
I don't know. Why don't you ask her? Deline, what do you say? Put it in the chat room. I think Deline is very, very proud of me. She's seen me in my ups. She has seen me in my downs. My sister is she keeps me grounded. Deline, even though she lives very far away, and it's been a long time since she's lived in New York, she keeps me grounded, well grounded. Yeah.
She must be very strong.
She is very strong. She's very strong.
Currently working on starting a community center in Queens.
Correct.
For children and families.
Yes.
Why is such a center necessary in that community?
Because there isn't really one. There are like food pantries, and I feel that you're doing something great by giving out food and clothing to people. But how much more are you trying to help them? Because you're giving them a can of corn or you're giving them a ham. We want to help them get their own ham and their own can of corn.
Teach them to fish.
And teach them to fish. So I feel a community center is definitely very, very needed. We have the facility available at our location. We have a ton of room. And I think our initial plan when we bought this building, which you visited, was to be a lighthouse in the Richmond Hill community. And that's where we want to be. We want to be there for the young people, and we want to be there for the families.
And I think that dream or that vision will come true because there are some amazing lights I met there.
Yes.
You included.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is your vision for the center? If you want to share, I mean, if you can.
Yeah, it's not in stone. It's not in writing yet, but it's in the back of my head because it's kind of something that I've discussed with my dad and discussed vaguely with our leadership. So it's something that I want to start that would work with offering sports and recreational activities for youths and also work with parenting. I think parenting is a huge necessary entity that's needed. Especially in the Guyanese immigrant culture,
right?
People just don't know how to parent, so they feel that they're back home in Guyana and they're living in one of those wooden houses, and they can beat their kids with a sugar cane and they can tell them to come home at this time and they're supposed to listen. That's not going to work here.
Sugar cane, Kenise.
Yeah, sugar cane thingy.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
You're quite young. I mean,
yes.
A young mother, and anyone would say, well, this kind of advice requires experience. Parenting requires experience. I know you have a reservoir of experience to draw from your dad, your parents actually.
Right.
What do you feel will give you the kind of experience or skills that you need or information that you need to impart to these young parents on how to parent properly? Where would you draw from?
I think it's my experience growing up in a home with my parents were not perfect. They're still not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect parents.
Can you repeat that part?
My parents are not perfect.
Okay, I just want Pastor Etwaru to hear this.
There's no such thing as perfect parents, but I feel that being brought up in a home where they tried their best to be exceptional parents, I think it's paid off because both my sister and I are success stories. My dad would say from the pulpit, he's raised angels, but we're not really angels with wings as yet or halos as yet, but we are angels. We've done very well for ourselves. I've gone through a lot more than my sister has. So I feel with that experience, seeing my parents raise both of us as success stories, we're able to tweak what were the great things that they implemented in our lives and what were the things that we couldn't care less for.
The chat room, DM said, DM, this is supposed to be my question. What is next for Kenise?
DM?
Yes.
What is next for Kenise? Well, the video that everyone saw before, I'm working with this extremely creative producer. His name is Mark Reddick. His studio is called The Music Lab. He's located in Brooklyn. So I met him a year ago, and we've been working on my gospel/contemporary Christian CD. The video that you saw, it's one of his.
Didn't see the video here.
Oh, didn't see the video?
No, just the MP3, just the music played.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, so
But it's on the homepage though.
Oh, it's on the homepage. You guys need to check out the video, which
Not
is on
now.
the homepage.
The show is
oh,
live,
not
so-
no, yeah,
right.
not now. Of
After the
course,
show.
you need to be looking at me and Mr. Collins.
Yes, of course.
After the show is done. So working on a CD, finishing my CD by the end of the year.
Don't say it too much because I have some questions about your music.
Well, Deline wanted to
Well,
tell my sister not to ask
It's
questions.
not, is it DM is Deline?
I don't know who that is.
Well, okay. All right. But finish your thought though.
Yeah, so it's and working with this nonprofit, this community center, enhancing the Generation Extreme. Writing a book, so I have like a couple of ideas and thoughts. I started on multiple ones. I recently went through a divorce, and obviously in the Christian world, if you didn't know Mr. Collins, that's not looked upon as very, yay! Everyone doesn't go about celebrating with balloons. It's kind of looked down upon. But unfortunately, I did go through it, and so I'm not sure if I want to write something towards, Christians and divorce,
Right.
or something about PKs. Just tailored directly to pastors' kids.
I think you can do both. And the Doc 2009, that's just my thought. You can do both.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
You're still very young. The Doc 2009 said, sisters keep each other going. They provide strength and love to each other that is unbreakable. M said, I agree with the Doc 2009. And before our break, you love to connect people and connecting with people, Kenise. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you meet someone?
I look at their smile.
Smart. Okay.
They have to have nice teeth.
Okay.
No, I look at someone's smile. If it's genuine or not. You can know if somebody's faking it or not faking it.
I got that. Let's take a break.
Come on, let's talk about it.
And this song is by Kenise.
Some time ago, and I felt so much in love with
Enjoy.
you every day, every hour. Could not imagine a moment without you. Then somehow we strayed away from the things that brought us together. Now here we are, you're doing you, I'm doing me. All I know is I'm hurting.
I'm sorry,
You stopped talking to me.
please forgive me, my love.
It doesn't matter what we're going through. We should always find our way. I don't wanna feel alone.
I'm sorry,
I need you to hold me tight.
please forgive me, my love.
It doesn't matter what we're going through. We should always find our way.
You're in the shower, I'm in the bed, sound asleep, and suddenly I'm awakened by your sound. It's a text. It appears you've been talking to another man. How could you do this? Now I'm wondering, should I break it off or stay with you? I really love you and I need you. Just not sure if we can make it another day.
I'm sorry.
Please come back to me.
Please forgive me, my love.
It doesn't matter what we're going through.
We should always find our way.
Feels like you're shutting me out.
I'm sorry.
Just try it again.
Please forgive me, my love.
It doesn't matter what we're going through.
We should always find our way.
We have come too far
To turn back,
and our love will be.
much stronger than before. We will make it through the hurt.
And we will make it through the tears. Just hold on.
Let's hold on.
We are back with the lovely Kenise. So, how are you holding up so far?
I'm doing very well.
In the chat room, Candice asks, how do you manage to make time to be so involved in your church? How do you balance work, family, and church?
Oh wow, everyone, that's that's a hot topic. Well, Kendi, I think, like I said before, it's really strong organizational skills. Sometimes I do feel overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. There are times when I go to bed 2, 3 a.m. in the morning because I can't do much when I go home and I spend time with the baby, put her to sleep, and then afterwards, that's when I'm writing my music. That's when I'm doing some work for my job. That's when I'm doing some church stuff. So it's pretty much around the clock. Mm-hmm. And you have to enjoy what you're doing. So that's how I kind of stay on top of it.
So how has being a mother shaped the way you relate to other children and older youth?
It's shaped it very well. Being a mother has definitely, I thought I liked children a lot. Uh-huh. After having my own, I'm just in love with children even more.
Wow.
I want to have 20.
20 children?
Eventually, yes.
I mean...
Like,
I'm not going to I'm not going to
I mean, like, biological. I mean, eventually I would like to call a lot of the kids in my life, like to adopt them.
Okay.
You know.
20 children.
Yeah, 20, 25.
What challenges do you face every day in being the mother you want to be?
It's doing it by myself.
Uh-huh.
That's my biggest challenge.
Okay.
I have a great friend in my life, and he has 2 twin boys the same age as my daughter. But seeing him as a single parent also has really helped me become a better single mom. But that is the biggest challenge, and I'm trying to overcome it every day.
We're going to shift gears a little.
Sure.
Congratulations on your single, I'm Sorry, Please Forgive Me.
Thank you.
How did you come up with the name, and what inspired that song?
It's Mark. Mark is the producer. He wrote the song. He asked me to sing the song as a duet with him. Because when he shared it, he also came from a broken relationship, got a divorce, and felt that the need to talk about relationships in the church, because he's also a PK, in the church was necessary. That people go to church and people carry around spirituality, and they have issues in their home, and they don't know how to deal with a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife relationship. And he wrote the song, and when I listened to it, I hated it at first because I didn't believe that you should forgive somebody, because obviously in the song is talking about a girl that cheated.
Right.
And he obviously in the
You didn't
video,
believe in forgiveness?
I do believe in forgiveness, but because I guess of my experience,
Uh-huh.
I really didn't care to see if someone messed up in a relationship like that, whether it's the first, second, third time. I don't care for it. So in the beginning, he had a very difficult time because every time we would be in the studio, he wanted emotion from me. And I'm like, I can't give you emotion because I don't like the song. And then when we shot the video, before we shot the video, I just started loving the song and hearing the feedback that we've gotten from people in relationships. And the song could be used for a marriage, a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, a friendship, that you want to be able to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and that person renders forgiveness.
What caused the shift in attitude towards the song? When did that happen?
It took a long time.
Mark must be a very patient man.
He is very patient.
And as most men in your life are very patient.
Yes,
men.
they have to be to
Yes.
deal with me. Yes, you know that, so.
I do.
Every guy in my life is very, very patient with me. Mark is extremely patient, and I think it was right before we did the video. Mm-hmm. I mean, on the bridge even of the song, it was very hard. We redid the song a couple of times, and he felt very frustrated in the studio, very upset with me many a times, yelled at me and everything else, but he meant well because I just couldn't show emotion in my vocal. But I think towards when we did the video, I started to just really enjoy the song and the meaning and the words in the song.
Well, when did you know you could sing?
I think I started singing at a very young age. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just been building on it. So I wouldn't say like I'm a phenomenal singer, and I wouldn't say that, I croak.
Okay. And was there someone in your family that was musical, or did you just fall into songwriting all on your own?
There's no songwriting in my family.
Okay.
My mom is a singer, but the songwriting just came, I guess, naturally. Deline writes also, but she told you.
Deline is a rapper.
Yeah, writes her own lyrics.
PK
also.
rapper.
The PK rapper, yeah.
So, and I'm curious,
Sure.
which of your parents' voices you think yours most resembles?
My mom.
Your mom?
I sing like my mom, yeah.
Oh.
My dad can't sing.
He can't?
He
or
cannot.
He cannot sing?
He cannot sing.
Okay. What is what is your process for recording a CD, and where does it all start?
It starts with your words, your lyrics, some thoughts, and I make it easier for Mark because I play, so I go in already with my chords and kind of my own thought and how I want the song to sound. Whereas another artist would probably go in and just give him lyrics, and he has to come up with the melody, he has to come up with the chords, he has to come up with the intro, and bridge and everything else. With me, I go in with something that's hardcore, so to speak, and
really?
I go in with a 5 and he makes it a 10.
I'm so glad to hear that because I'm actually looking
You're gonna record a CD?
I'm looking for a theme song for the
Oh,
show.
he does that. He does that all the
Pro
time.
bono. Right? Let me just say that quickly, right? Pro bono.
Yes, Mark. Pro bono.
Let me just go to the chat room. Mark Riddick. Yes, I am very patient. My God, laugh out loud. Mark, I knew you had to be. Jen G here said, I love the video. You are a great singer, Kenise.
Thanks, Jen.
And I say the same thing. I love the video myself. Kendi, laugh out loud, Uncle Mark. M said, I was touched by both the song and the video. It was very emotional for me, but both Kenise and Mark did a great job. Wonderful. What does music mean to you, Kenise?
Music is my world. I think music can make you sad. Music can make you happy. Music can make you excited.
And sometimes frustrated like Mark.
No, it's not the music. I frustrate.
Oh, you
Mark.
frustrate him.
Not
Okay.
the music.
Okay.
Because when I get
stand
into the mode, it sounds good. It sounds good.
I have to meet Mark one day.
You have to meet Mark,
I
and you'll shake his hand and
I-
just say, God have mercy. I humble myself to deal with this woman.
I think in the beginning of the video,
Yeah.
as Mark was narrating,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And I said, I wondered where he drew that from. These had this emotion in his voice and so on. And then I remembered. I thought of you and I said, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
You know, he was very authentic in what he was saying.
He sure is.
Yeah.
This song means a lot to him.
Yeah. What kind of songs do you write?
Gospel / contemporary Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of too very weird because it's more construed to be a secular song.
Right.
So we were a little concerned what the Christian world might feel about it because it's not a Christian song.
Okay.
I mean, per se.
Oh. Well, we shall see.
We'll see.
All right.
People love it.
Do you ever experience writer's block? If you do, what do
Yes.
you do to get over it?
Have a glass of wine. No. Yes, writer's block all the time. I've had a writer's block for a couple of months now. How do I get over it? It's continuously working on it. It's very interesting, and with your book, I'm sure you had writer's block when you were putting your book together.
No.
Oh, all right, because you're amazing. Okay.
No. That's not it. I mean, you know, I very rarely talk about my book on the show, but that's not it. It wasn't. My book kind of wrote itself before I actually start writing. That's a whole nother conversation. I mean, I just want you to know that,
Okay,
right?
dear.
That's another conversation. So tonight is about you.
Yes, dear.
Not my book, right? We want to focus on you and your song.
Writer's block. I think it's being rested. And you just have to, it just comes. There are times when I've sat at the piano and nothing is coming, and I get up and I go take a shower or something, and you start humming a melody, and I would run back out of the shower and go on the piano.
That I can say that. I can testify to that for writer's block. It's like sometimes people would ask me, write me a poem, write me something nice, and if I have to think it through, it probably will not sound good.
Right.
But if I just flow,
It just flows.
there it is.
Yeah.
And yeah. So anyway, this is not about me tonight.
No.
Janine said, yes, great video and song. When is the next one?
The next video, Mark has selected 2 songs that he wants me to make videos from, which will be kind of like my singles. So it'll all be done by the end of the year. So the CD should be completed, published in boxes, in the little cases, in your home, because you're going to order 100 boxes of it, and you're going to buy them from me. And all my friends that are online right now are going to buy my CDs at the end of the year.
Yes, boss. Yes, Kenise. Is Pastor Etwaru watching the show
I
tonight?
don't know where my dad is. I have no idea.
Okay.
Maybe he's listening. I don't know. If he is listening, he's pretending that I'm not his child. I'll tell you that.
You know, I want to take a quick and
I'm convinced of one thing. The divorce rate would be much lower. Relationships would last much longer if we would just say these words when that moment is upon us. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Come on, let's talk about it.
We started out some time ago, and I felt so much in love with you every day, every hour. Could not imagine a moment without you. Then somehow we strayed away from the things that brought us together. Now here we are, you're doing you, I'm doing me. All I know is I'm hurting.
I'm sorry.
You stopped talking to me.
Please forgive me, my love.
It doesn't matter what we're going through. We should always find our way. I don't wanna feel alone.
I'm sorry.
I need you to hold me tight.
Please forgive me, my love.
It doesn't matter what we're going through. We should always find our way.
You're in the shower, I'm in the bed, sound asleep, and suddenly I'm awakened by your sound. It's a text. It appears you've been talking to another man. How could you do this? Now I'm wondering, should I break it off or stay with you? I really love you and I need you. Just not sure if we can make it another day.
I'm sorry.
Please come back to me.
Please forgive me, my love.
It doesn't matter what we're going through.
We should always find our way.
We are back with the lovely Kenise. Kenise,
Yes, Mr. Collins.
I'm so glad you're having a good time.
I'm having a blast.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Before we continue, any special message to your sister, to your parents? Any?
Yeah, special message to my sister. She's studying for her boards.
Oh.
I wanted to tell her that I know she's going to do very, very well next week, and she celebrates her birthday also next week. To my parents, I don't think they're watching. They're probably too busy. I love them. And to all my, there's a bunch of my girlfriends that I know that are on, Jen and Kendra and Janine and Mina. I want to tell you guys I love you. And of course, my most favorite person in the world, every day when I call him, I tell him how much I love him.
Mark.
Yeah.
You should.
I should.
Yeah. Yes. How would you describe the sound of your music?
And it's a question for Mark. Can we call a friend?
Well, yeah.
How would I describe it? I think for me, the feel that I want is a little bit of gospel / jazzy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he would probably say different because he thinks I'm eclectic a little bit. So I think it's a different sound, and for an Indian person to try to venture into the gospel world, it's non-existent. You don't see an Indian, especially Caribbean Indian,
Right.
person singing gospel music. But I have a lot of soul.
You know, I never thought of that until you mentioned it.
Yeah. I'm Mark's cash cow.
You're-
Him a lot of luck. He's gonna yell at me. I'm laughing really hard right now.
Mark is probably dying with laughter knowing you.
Yeah, I think it's a when people look for artists to go into the music industry, they look for being unique.
Right.
You know, a unique vocal, a unique person, when you look at American Idol and you look at all these other shows, they look for the image that's
Right.
unique, that's not already out there. So in the gospel world, I think I bring that uniqueness to it.
What do you think in your voice, or what do you think in your voice would separate you from many others?
The soul feel.
Uh-huh.
Because Indians, you won't find Indians singing soul. Hear them sing Kabhi Kabhi.
Kenise, I just want you to know I have an extensive audience, especially in the Guyanese community.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. In the chat room, Jen G here said, "I'll prepay for the CD." DM said, "I really, really love the song!" Exclamation! Exclamation! M said, "I do too." Kendi, doing good. Jen G here said, "Love you too," and Janine, "Love you too." Besos, BESOS. I don't know what that means. It's probably some code among very good friends. So tell me a little bit about the process, the production process. Do you and Mark? You know, you said quite jokingly how much you frustrated him.
Right.
But I think sometimes when there are conflicts or differences, it make for a very powerful product. How much do you think that some of those differences may have contributed to this song coming out the way it did?
I think it contributed a lot.
Uh-huh.
You could see it in the video, even though I didn't like the song. Everyone that's looked at the video have said that we tend to we're good together.
Right.
You know, in the video, there's that energy there that people can feel that we were having a good time.
Yeah, I noticed
so
that.
even though we got frustrated and he knew I didn't like the song from the inception and certain things about the song, when we created a video, we made it happen.
You know, I saw Mark playing in the video, and you play, right? What was that like, observing Mark playing, knowing that you can play? Did you feel like playing sometimes?
No,
It didn't
not
matter.
at all.
Didn't matter.
No, Mark is a master.
Oh my. Okay. And what were the challenges and driving forces in your life to come to this far, to be able to work on releasing your first gospel CD? You know.
I've been wanting to do a CD for years, and on the threshold of kind of like my separation / divorce in my personal life, I decided to move forward with it, which is kind of like, why would I do that? Because it's probably it was the most stressful time in my life. I pushed through it, and I need to complete it. at this point.
I love the flow, and this is what I like about having conversations with people is that the flow gives you opportunities. You mentioned it was a difficult time in your life, and
Very
you pushed
difficult.
through with this. You also mentioned early on how organized you are. You do not procrastinate. You don't believe in it. You do what you have to do, and you get it done. How important is that to you to, in spite of your challenges, in spite of being stressed out or whatever, to go after something that you, or to continue doing something that you started, or even if you are about to start it, how important it is to pursue something that is equally as challenging, or maybe just as challenging, than as what you're experiencing, the stress or the problems you're experiencing. How important is it?
It is very important. I think people get caught up with the stress, especially going through like a broken relationship, or a spouse leaving, or a divorce, or a separation, or a death of a child or parent. People tend to linger there for a long time, and the more you linger there, the more time you're wasting. The person is already gone. Whether it's death, or whether they leave, or you've left them, the person is already gone. And I feel it's important. The music really held me. And sometimes I think about it now, because there are times when it becomes very difficult. Like, why am I working on my CD? I've gone through such a very difficult last couple of years. But that CD, when it's done, will have a lot of emotions tied into it that people will be able to feel. Once they pop that into their CD player or download it from iTunes, they'll be able to feel that coming through a song.
What singers or musicians inspired you most?
I love all sorts of music. So from Indian genres to Black American genres to reggae, calypso, to gospel, to contemporary, to country. I listen to all types of music. I love love all music.
Was there any kind of music forbidden in your home?
Indian Indian music, calypso music, any music that wasn't like Amazing Grace and Blessed Assurance. Yeah, and as we grew older, we were able to listen to like, Butterfly, Butterfly. Like,
Yeah.
Butterfly. As we got older, my parents got less and less strict. So,
Okay.
but I love soca. I love calypso. I love reggae.
Is it that they got less strict, or you made your presence felt, or
I think my sister and I made our presence.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. I kind of figured that. Do you? Well, I know you play the piano, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
Is there any other musical instrument you
No,
play?
no,
Oh, that's it.
no.
Yeah. So how you got involved with playing the piano?
I started when I was very young. I was about 7 years old when I started taking lessons, and because I always wanted to play Christian music. So I knew, and it's been very helpful. I didn't know like it would lead me up to leading worship one day, and I use it as my tool.
Because you play very well. I mean,
Yeah,
I
so-
visited your church once, and
Thank you.
you
You should come more often.
let's continue. Are there any artists today who really woos you? Or
Inspire me?
Yeah.
Whitney Houston is one of my biggest inspirations.
Ah.
I think she's a phenomenal singer. CeCe Winan, Fred Hammond, but very old school. The old school singers and more. Some of them are not alive anymore.
Right.
So
Where can we hear your songs and music online?
not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
None of them are completely done.
Mm-hmm.
So they still need Mark to work on them and cleaning them up. The ones that are completed, he needs to add some more music, maybe some more vocals to it before
Okay.
they're actually completely done. But when it's done, you will know.
I will, huh?
You sure will.
And how do your songs come to you?
A lot of them come to me in my car while I'm driving, because I do a long commute from Long Island to New York City every day. So I spend about an hour and a half each way in traffic. So I have a recorder on my phone. So melody comes because I'm singing one song and I'm just thinking, and I'm thinking about words, and then I just put a sentence together, two sentences together. I record it, and I go home. I kind of work on it. I play on it. I move it around, shift it around. Most of my songs come while I'm driving.
So you have quite a collection then.
I have a lot of songs, yes.
So what was your favorite part about the songwriting process?
It's the end product. It's the end product. It's listening to something that I recorded on my phone like 5 days ago, and then listening to it after 5 days go by, and it's a done song.
And how are you inspired by your spirituality?
Very much inspired by it because it's a gospel. I mean, I do mostly gospel, so everything is inspired by my spirituality.
What are your dreams for your daughter?
For my
Daughter.
my dreams for my daughter is that she would go off to college tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. My dreams for my daughter is that she's gonna grow up and be a history maker like her mother will be, and create a world and help to be a part of a world, the world that she's gonna live in, which is gonna be very different than what we're living in right now, and be a legacy maker and accomplish whatever she feels set to accomplish, and feel empowered as a woman that was raised by a single mom and who will leave a legacy and become a history maker, and she'll see that she'll want to do that also.
What has she as a child taught you about being free-spirited?
Oh my gosh, just everything. She's very free-spirited. You know, there are times when she looks at me and she goes, "Mom, you're sad." I don't want you to be sad. And I wouldn't be sad, but she'll just look in my face and just
Right.
think I'm sad because I'm not talking or something. So I think for her as a child, that they see things, they always want to smile, and she knows the difference. Nobody's ever taught her, you know, what's happy face, what's sad face. It's just, I guess, the way that God has made us. So she knows that. So being free-spirited is just remembering always to put that smile on your face.
What about her that makes you proud that you what does she do, or yes, what is it about her that makes you proud to be a mom?
She has an attitude.
And she has an attitude.
A good attitude, not a negative attitude. She has an attitude. She has charisma. She has pizzazz. She's sassy. All of those things make me.
She
proud.
is?
She's very sassy. Yes.
I see.
She's smart.
Chip. Well, anyway.
What?
No.
Finish that? No, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead, someone. Chip off the old block.
No, but I remember what a chip off the old block means. I'm not gonna mess myself up on this show. Fola said, "WTG Kenise, good job." And if there's a question you expected this evening, but wasn't asked, what would that be?
Question.
Don't make one up, Kenise.
No, I think the questions were covered.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you consider a bad day?
What do I consider a bad day? A bad day is what you make it out to be. So you're in control of your day. You're in control of your time. You're in control of if you decide if someone makes your day bad or an event makes your day bad. So my idea of a bad day is only if you make it a bad day. It's only a bad day because you want it to be a bad day.
Aha. Okay. Okay. And what is next for Kenise? I asked that question now.
Yeah, there's a lot of things next for me. So when you have me on your show next year, it might be a whole different ball game.
You coming back?
I think so.
So you're what? Another you're gonna be what? Twice a woman, one of the women of CWS.
Well, this is my second time
Yeah,
on your show, so
well.
it'll be the third time. on
That's
your
a
show.
charm, right? You know, the question now that I ask all my guests:
Sure.
what makes you laugh out loud?
What makes me laugh? Honestly,
Yes, honestly, Kenise.
it's some of the people that are on that chat in that chat room right now.
Some of these people.
Yeah. Mark is hysterical. He cracks me up. My friends Janine and Kendra,
Uh-huh.
great friends of mine, they make me laugh until I can't. I can't see because tears are coming down. So they help me laugh and keep laughing all the time.
I'm sitting here looking at you, and I'm just curious to know how did Mark let out his frustrations or some of his frustrations during this process.
I think you should call him.
Yeah. I'm just very curious.
How did he let? Is he on there still?
He probably is, because when I look at the video now
Yes.
that we're talking and what I remember of you, Kenise, or I know of you,
Yeah.
and at the beginning when Mark is saying those words, and I'm looking at his expression, I say, yeah, this is a guy who's been through quite an experience. And I don't mean an experience with a breakup. I'm talking an experience with working on this project, Kenise.
That's not true, Selma.
Right? Here's a
No,
guy,
no.
and he's like, I have finally gotten it. I've gotten through. So I'm saying this. Most of the world's problem, blah 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 blah. You know the rest, Kenise. And I say, yeah, okay. So he finally he's gotten through it, and that's commendable for Mark, and you, of course. That's wonderful. If I may go to the chat room,
Of
Kenise.
course, you can. This is your show, Mr. Collins.
Kendi said, your church family is very proud of you.
Thank you.
You're a
Kendi.
great inspiration to all of us. We love you and support you.
Thank you, Kendi. I love you.
Good. And to close the show, Kenise, can you give us a few words of wisdom, some advice, something inspirational?
Well, it's not really mine 100%, but I want to say,
I'm convinced
you know,
of one
live
thing.
like
The
today's your
divorce
last
rate would
day.
be much lower. Relationships would
If you
last
need
much
to
longer.
dance
If we would
and
just
you don't
say
know
these
how to,
words,
dance.
that moment is upon us.
Okay.
If you never traveled, get on a plane, watch the airplane wings flap, enjoy traveling. Do everything that you possibly can do now, because you just never know what tomorrow holds.
I love that. Thank you. And thank you, Kenise, for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You were candid, you were eloquent, and beautiful as usual.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Selwyn.
All right. And
Thank you, everybody. I love you guys so much.
And Mark, thank you, because you guys produce a very beautiful song, and I hope the CD will be just as beautiful. And I am anticipating great work. So once again, thank you. And this is Selwyn Collins saying good night. Tomorrow evening, our guests are Carol Taylor and the author Pink, and the conversation will be on relationship. Please tune in, same time, 8:30 to 10. In the chat room, Kendi said, CB said, good show. Thank you, CB, and good night.
Bye.
Said, suffer little children to come unto me. Every day, more than 30,000 children around the world die of preventable diseases. More than 300,000 children are being used in war as child soldiers. Lord have mercy. A child should be loved. A child should be held. A child should be clean. A child shouldn't shouldn't go to bed hungry at night. A child should be taught wrong from right. A child should learn to say thanks and please. A child shouldn't suffer from preventable disease. A child is a fruit that shouldn't be picked before it's time. To do that to a